Okay, well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce Craig Hensley. He's one of the, well, two Texas Nature Tracker Biologists, which I'm not sure what that is. I hope you'll explain that. But
Do my
he's with the
best.
Wildlife Diversity Program at Texas Parks and Wildlife. And tonight he's going to be talking about the City Nature Challenge. So I'll let you proceed, Craig. Thanks for coming.
Sounds good. Hey, you betcha. Happy to be here. So let me share my screen first. Make sure that that's working. There we go. Can you see that presentation slide? Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, I am a Texas Nature Trackers Biologist. There are two of us statewide, and I'm going to explain what we do here in just a minute. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to visit with you tonight. Thank you, Kevin, for reaching out to both Tanya and I, and we're fortunate we were able to visit with you tonight. Our season this time of the year is so packed with things coming up, with City Nature Challenge in particular, that we're both up to our eyeballs, but I am thrilled to be able to visit with you all this evening. So we'll go ahead and get started here. We're going to, first of all, let me tell you about Texas Nature Trackers. So as was said, we are part of the Texas TPWD's Wildlife Diversity Program. We help track the status of wild populations of plants and animals throughout Texas. The way we do that is we go out and we educate and engage the general public, also known as community scientists, of all backgrounds and interests. Doesn't matter if they're a master naturalist or a NIPSOT member or an Audubon member. We are welcoming everyone that wants to come in and help and participate in hopefully collecting good scientifically usable data about our state's flora and fauna. By your participation with iNaturalist, it's a great way for you to learn more about the biodiversity of the state, not only across the state, but even in your own backyard, even in your local park or your local wildlife area, or that beautiful preserve that I believe it was Judy was sharing a picture of back there. That looks spectacular. While at the same time, not only are you learning more, you're also then can be potentially contributing to our research and conservation efforts. And I'll probably repeat this more than once tonight, but every county in Texas has one wildlife biologist, and they have so many responsibilities. They can't possibly be out keeping track of how many of these things are over here and how many of these things are over here. And that's why by leveraging the everybody else in Texas who has an interest in the natural world, who has an interest in our natural resources, to participate in this process of using iNaturalist and events like the City Nature Challenge, it actually allows us to be much better as a conservation agency. So we want everybody involved. So we are equal opportunity engagers of the natural world, I guess you could say. So specifically how we work is we kind of are the in-between folks between the community science or naturalist world, using the app known as iNaturalist, and then taking some of that data of specific species we're trying to track, vetting that data to make sure it's good, high quality information, passing that through a system, filter system, so that it ends up with the research and conservation community. And when I say research and conservation community, that could be taxobiologists, that could be the Texas Natural Diversity Database that goes someplace where that information is stored so that we have a record of what's out there in the state of Texas. Our ultimate goal is to move high quality, robust community science data into that Texas Natural Diversity Database. We do that through the Texas Nature Trackers program through our iNaturalist projects. We have a dozen of those. We'll show you those in just a few moments. We are focused primarily on species of greatest conservation need, and I'll tell you what that is in just a second. And within those, there are so many of them, we kind of try to pick and choose top priority species that the general public actually has a chance of seeing, and try to get people to engage people to get out and look for those things. All of this then can contribute to the Texas Natural Diversity Database. And basically what that is, it's a record, a series of records of rare and unusual plants and animals across across Texas, and where they are as individuals and or populations of them. And so those are all those different colors and dots and circles and lines and things like that. This information is really critical when we're trying to practice good on the ground conservation. It's also really important when TxDOT or somebody else wants to come in and alter the landscape. We can go to these records and find out, are there things that we need to protect in that process? And so that can be very, very valuable for conservation in the long term for the state of Texas. So first, let's talk about what an SGCN is. And again, that's a species of greatest conservation need. It's a native plant or animal that is declining or rare and in need of attention to recover it or prevent the need to list under state or federal regulation. So what we're trying to do is identify those things that are not doing very well, pay attention to them, gather data, do the research, implement conservation plans so that we can, if we can, we want to keep them off the lists. That's the best scenario. And if we can't, what can we do to get them back off the list if they have to go on the list? And this is a dynamic, ever-changing thing. A great example is the bald eagle. The bald eagle was an endangered species back when I was a kid. Back when y'all were kids, it was disappearing and declared an endangered species. Now it's very common throughout all of the United States. I grew up in a little farming town in southwest Iowa. Bald eagles are nesting in my home county. First 18 years of my life, never saw a bald eagle. Never thought I would ever see a bald eagle. They're now nesting in my county on the Nishnabotna River. I'm telling you, that shouldn't be happening, but because of good conservation, good information, good practices, we are able to recover those things. So it is very possible. So how does a species get there? How does it become an SGCN? First of all, a lot of times the species was common. For some reason, it could be habitat loss. It could be a variety of factors. And usually is a variety of factors. It's usually never simple. Their population starts to decline at some level that the experts determine, I guess. They declared a SGCN, a species that needs some special attention. And again, the idea is to get that attention to it before it becomes listed or as threatened or endangered. Now, I should tell you also, let me back up one other thought. Another way that this can happen is we literally don't have enough information. So if we don't have enough information on a species, we may list it as an SGCN to try to trigger research on that species to determine, is it as uncommon as it might be, or is it actually doing better than we think, and we literally don't have enough information? So there's a couple of different ways that can happen. So who are the SGCNs? Well, everything from whooping cranes to Texas horned lizards to bobwhite, northern bobwhite, to even birds like, bumblebees. There's the American bumblebee that is declining all across its range, including in Texas. So those are just a few examples. In Texas, there are more than 1,300 species. I should also tell you that that is a dynamic list. This doesn't stay there and those species stay on there forever. The goal is to prioritize those things. Our taxobiologists do that. One species in the El Paso area that gets a lot of attention by your biologist out there is the burrowing owl. And she's doing a great bit of research on that bird to better understand its population and what's happening with it. But this list is dynamic. So certain things come on, certain things come off as we learn. And the best way to learn is to engage the community, the larger community, to help us collect data. And all of this is being done because of something called the TCAP, the Texas Conservation Action Plan. It's a roadmap, literally a roadmap, and plans to how are we going to take care of all the plants and animals in the state of Texas. Every 10 years it gets updated. It's in the process of that. That process is starting now. So that hopefully by 2022, somewhere in that year, this will be rolled out as a new an updated version of this. So very, very important. This is not stuff we're just doing to get people outside and do that and go, well, we really don't need it, but we want to engage people. We're actually taking and putting this data to use. So let me show you our website. We have our own Texas Nature Trackers website. It has 3 links in it, 3 primary links. Here's our you can type in a Google search, just type in Texas Nature Trackers. It'll take you right to our page link. But there we have projects, we have target species, and we have get involved. So projects, which I'm going to show you here in a second, are the different projects we're engaged in. Target species are those animals and plants that we're trying to focus on. And then get involved is how do you get involved, whether it's iNaturalist, whether it's City Nature Challenge, whatever that happens to be. So our projects, these are the 12 that we either sponsor or work with other cooperators on trying to gather information. And you can see it's a wide range of things. It is everything from the herps, the reptiles and amphibians of the state of Texas, over to the bees and wasps of Texas. By the way, a lot of those can't be identified as species, but the effort is there. Down to the fishes of Texas. Texas Whooper Watch has been a project going on for a very long time. Freshwater mussels is another one. Some things, a lot of the general public would go, well, who cares about mussels? I mean, they're just like clams, but they're actually incredibly, as some of you may know, they're incredibly important to water filtration in the state, in our state's waters, and a lot of them are in trouble. So that's a very important project. And then down here, we've got the Texas milkweeds for monarchs. So across the state of Texas, we're asking people to document all the different species of Asclepias milkweeds for conservation purposes. Now, in terms of target species, again, I mentioned there were more than 1,300 species. A lot of them, if you look through the list, are cave obligate spiders or mites or whatever, beetles, whatever it is. So things that we in the general public aren't going to see. Unless you happen to own a cave system and you know what the heck you're looking at. So what we do is we go through that list of 1,300 species. We kind of pare down, here are the ones that the general public can help us with the most. And you can search by taxa group up here, or you can search by ecoregion to find out what, and then when you pull up one of these, all of these are there as well. So for example, if I pick birds, this is the general list of birds. And burrowing owl is somewhere, there it is, burrowing owl right there on the list of animals that we're trying to document things about. So this is a way to kind of, instead of going through the Excel spreadsheets and 1,300 species, this is an easy way to kind of target a search for what animals and plants we're looking for. So now the last thing is getting involved, and iNaturalist has come along at such a perfect time. I always tell people that when I was a kid, if I had something like this, oh my gosh, my parents would never find me. I would be out in the woods and the prairies and in the creek, and I would be one heck of a naturalist. I would be like Aldo Leopold kind of naturalist. Alas, I didn't have this available to me, so I'm playing catch up now. So, but iNaturalist was not created by Texas Parks and Wildlife. It was actually created by, the concept was developed by some graduate students in California, of all things. They needed a project, and this is what they came up with. So iNaturalist is an online social network of people sharing biodiversity information to help each other learn about nature. Basically, what iNaturalist was developed to do was to connect people to nature, and also in the process, generate scientifically valuable biodiversity data. So you know how we all take, especially when Facebook came along and all this stuff came along. We're taking pictures. Here's what I'm eating for lunch today. Look at my new shoes and all of that. And this is brilliant because it's like, instead of trying to share everybody what your new shoes look like, how about go out and take pictures of nature? Not only do you learn what in the world you're looking at is potentially, but you're actually sharing data with the rest of the world. So it's a great, powerful tool to engage people in the outdoors, when everybody nowadays is walking around with a cell phone, except for my father. But that's a whole nother matter. But the way it works basically is you download the app. It's a free app. You download it onto your cell phone. You go to the app store, type in iNaturalist. It'll pull it up. You download it. It takes, I don't know, 10 seconds. And you create an account and you're ready to go. We'll walk you through that process tonight. And then you go out and take a picture of something. And you share it on the iNaturalist app with other people that are iNaturalist users. The phone itself, the app itself, will try to identify what you took a picture of. If it isn't able to do that, then the other users that you share it with, there may be somebody out there that can help you identify what you're looking at. So it's an awesome thing. And again, that data can be mined by agencies like ours for conservation planning. So how it specifically works in just a little bit more detail. First of all, you got to create an account. They need to know who you are. And then secondly, you have to have some evidence of what you saw. Not always now, but it used to be always. And that's either a photo or a sound recording. Most people are going to use photos, but the app just upgraded on the iPhone where you can do sound recordings now, both on the app, on the iPhone and the Android. So that's a big leap for the iPhone users anyway. And then of course, the next thing we need to know is what you saw. Now, what you saw can be tricky. Let's say you go out and you see this really cool butterfly on a flower in your yard. You take a picture of it and you have no idea what it is, okay? But in iNaturalist, it's gonna give you, when you share it on iNaturalist, it's gonna say, we know this is a butterfly, but here are some suggestions for species. If you don't know Adam about anything about butterflies, all you have to do is select, I know it's a butterfly. And that's a placeholder. And what that's gonna do is then move that information along, and other people can be more specific in their identification. We'll walk you through that here in just a moment. When you saw it, the nice thing about our cell phones, it records the date and the time of your encounter with that automatically. And then also, another thing really important are the coordinates, because with iNaturalist, it's going to tell the lat and longitude. Another part of that is accuracy. And what that means is if you take a picture of something and the accuracy says it's accurate to within 200 miles, conservation planning wise, if it's a rare plant or animal, that's not going to help us much. So you want to pare that accuracy down as much as you possibly can. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit later as well. So every time you take a picture or record a sound, you're creating what is known as a digital voucher. And what that is just a dot on a map that says, I saw this thing or I heard this thing in this location at this time and date. Okay, so it's building a map of resources. So instead of, we used to have, and they still do it, of course, but if I wanted to document a rare bird, for example, I would have to write up a report, submit the report. Sometimes you still do, but it was all on paper. Now, if I can get a picture of it, great. If I can get a sound of it, great. If I can't, I can report it. I can still report it to an app called eBird, or I can report it to iNaturalist and still get that voucher, that location, bit of location out to scientists. So it can be really, really valuable. So just to give you an idea, so globally, iNaturalist now has had, as of a few days ago, has had over 61 million observations. I think last year when I did this, we did this presentation, Tanya and I were out there in El Paso, I think it was around 40 million. So it's amazing how many people are using this. Now over 1.5 million people observing using iNaturalist. In North America, almost 40 million people now using. In fact, I do believe it's gone over 40 million since I took this a few days ago. And then in Texas, over 4.2 million observations. And you can see those red dots on the map. It just shows you how valuable, how much data this is gathering. And trust me, from the standpoint of being a project curator, that's a lot of data to sift through, but you get a lot of valuable data out of all of that, and you can utilize that for conservation and understanding. And that is really, really powerful. And you can understand why TPWD would want to adopt this data collection tool. So let's get started. Let's just walk our way all the way through the process of using iNaturalist. I don't know if everybody here has used it or is a skilled user or you're a beginner. So I'm going to kind of ride the middle lane, leaning a little bit towards the beginner. So hopefully this won't put anybody to sleep. You go, yeah, I know that. It'll be a refresher. Let's view it that way. So first of all, again, you got to create an account. You have to download the app onto your phone. You can also create an account by going to the computer, typing in iNaturalist.org, create your account there. If you're already a user, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. They change this picture out from time to time. But you can click in log in if you already have an account or sign up. If you are already a user, all you have to do is provide your username and your password and sign in right there. If you're starting a brand new account from here, obviously you would click on this link right here. That's going to take you to this screen, okay? and you create your own username there. You put in your email. You can do a password, confirm your password. Here's something real valuable. It defaults to Hawaii time for new accounts. You're in mountain time. You're going to want to change that to mountain time, especially when you're out doing things in a timely manner to make sure that your observations get in real time. And you can't do that on the app. You can only do that from the web page. It's a little glitch in the system that's not been resolved. Once you do that, you've got your account created and you're ready to go. And again, first download the app if you're using your phone. And here it is again, the sign up or the login. Over here, you can do the sign up here, and down here already have an account, log in from there. So that's as simple as it is. It really is quite simple. So let's take a look now at the app itself. By the way, if you have any questions, you want to type those into the chat box. We'll have time hopefully to answer those a little bit at the end of the program. So let's take a look at the iNaturalist app. When you open up your app, this is what your screen is going to look like. On the Apple, it's going to be the iPhone, it's going to look like this. On the Android, it's going to look like this. So let's say you want to take a picture of something you found. On the iPhone, you're just going to click on or select observe here. And on the Android, you're going to click or select this circle with the plus sign in it. When you open that screen, you're going to get this now. This is brand new. This is a brand new adjustment, at least on the iPhone, which is the one that I use. You have 4 choices now. Used to be you had camera. So you have the camera, the iNaturalist app camera. Okay, keep that in mind, iNaturalist app camera. You have the camera roll. So those are all those pictures you've got stored on your phone. And you can also then take, let's say you see something fly over and you couldn't get a picture of it, you can still document it without a photo or a sound voucher. And you can also record now. That's brand new on the iPhone. So let's just do this. First thing I want to tell you, you've got your regular cell phone camera. You've got the iNaturalist camera that's uploaded on the app, right? Here's the thing. Certain things you can only get, as you know, when you take pictures with your iPhone, your cell phone, you can only get so close to certain things and then they get blurry. Same thing happens with iNaturalist, okay? You can get so close and then it gets blurry and you take a lousy picture and it doesn't help you. So there are times when you might consider using your cell phone's camera instead of the iNaturalist camera, okay? The reason for that is you can take the picture with your cell phone, you can go into that picture and you can edit it right there and then, which you cannot do when you uploaded the picture directly from the camera on iNaturalist, okay? You can't edit that photograph. You're stuck with it. So sometimes it's better, take the picture with your iPhone camera or your cell phone camera, do your editing, then go to iNaturalist, open it up, and get that picture from your photo files, okay? So that's what we're going to show you how to do first. So first we're going to select camera roll. And when we open that up, here are all of the pictures you have on your phone. And so I want to select a picture that I want to upload, this one right here. So I click on it and notice that this little blue circle with a check mark, this is on the iPhone anyway. This comes up and then I'm going to click, I click on that and then I click add, okay? When I click add, it uploads the picture to my iNaturalist screen, just like I had just taken the picture, okay? So there it is. If I want to add another picture, I've got another one here I could add if I wanted to. I would click on this box with the plus sign. It would go back and say, do you want to take a picture, a sound, no photo, or the camera roll? You'd select camera roll again, upload the next picture, okay? And you can do that as many times as you have pictures for that particular observation. Keep in mind, one species at a time, one thing at a time, one critter at a time. So then you just go through the process that I'm going to walk you through here in just a few moments, just like you would if you had taken the picture with your iNaturalist camera, okay? So that's how to do that. Now let's say you want to record a sound. So you're going to click on this record sound. You've got a bird singing in your backyard. You have no idea what it is. You're going to go ahead and record that sound and upload it and see if somebody can help you identify that song. So you click on that, you click on the record sound, it opens this up. All you have to do is click that, which starts the recording. You can see this is a 15-second recording here. When I'm done, I click this again, and then I click save recording. Real important, you got to click save recording. When you do that, what happens is up here where we had the picture the last time, instead of a photograph, we have this symbol of a microphone. That is your sound recording. So it's there, it's ready to go. Now, the little bit of different thing here, this is not going to, the app is not going to go, okay, I'm going to listen to that song and I'm going to identify it for you. It doesn't do that. So that makes it a little, this is a little extra thing that you have to think about. So it's going to say, what did you see? You can, and if you type in something, when you click on this, you're going to have to type in something. Well, you recorded it because you didn't know what in the world it was. So how are you going to put a name down? Well, here's what you do. If it was a bird, type in bird, okay? Or if you think it might have been a Pyrrholoxia, for example, put in Pyrrholoxia, okay? You're putting a placeholder in that suggestion. And then when you go ahead and enter that, it's going to populate right there. You're going to go through this process here, which we're going to go through in a minute. You put it out there, and then other people will listen to that and go, yep, that's Pyrrholoxia, or no, that's something else. But they'll help you identify that song so you can learn what in the world's singing in your backyard. And by the way, when you upload something, if it's a sound, it's going to look a little bit different than if it's a photograph, obviously, okay? So keep that in mind. It's going to look a little bit different on your phone. All right, so now let's just go back to the old standard way of uploading something on iNaturalist. I see something, I want to take a picture of it. I'm going to click on that box at the bottom on the iPhone which says observe, or I'm going to click on the plus sign in the green circle on the Android. Again, here are my choices. Every time it's going to come up to this. Now I'm going to select camera. That camera is the iNaturalist camera. So I click on that and I take my picture, and there it is here and here on both phones. If I want to add another picture, I would click on the plus box and the plus over here, add another picture. When it comes to plants in particular, oftentimes it's very valuable to take more than one picture, maybe 2 or 3 pictures, the flower, the leaves, the whole plant. It helps with identification oftentimes. So keep that in mind. Same thing with, butterflies or insects. So you have the opportunity to take multiple pictures. So now you've got your picture, that's all you need in this example. So now we're going to click on what did you see on either one of the apps or phones. When you do that, this is when it gets really cool, okay? It's actually going to give you choices. It's going to say, well, we're pretty sure it's an oak. Over here, pretty sure it's an oak. And then underneath that, it's going to give you choices, specific species choices. Well, let's say you don't know, it's an oak because you found an acorn. So you know enough about trees that that's an acorn tree or an oak tree. So, but you don't know what species it is. You could either guess, better yet, just select oaks, okay? Again, it provides a placeholder. So when you upload it, somebody that knows something about oaks might look at your observation and help you identify it to species. In this case, I happen to know this is a Texas live oak, so I'm going to select Texas live oak. All right, so now it's populated what it is here and here. Notice this one has the scientific name first, and this one has the common name first. You can actually go in to your app and switch those around. If you know your scientific names, you like that first, you can do that. Most people would probably want the common name first. Okay. So now we look at both of these, look at this. We've got our date and our time down right here and here. That's taken care of. Now we go down and we see here's our location data. That's what this map symbol is here and here. Notice it has a latitude and a longitude. But notice the accuracy is different, 128 meters versus 6. This is the same place. I didn't move 1 foot, and the accuracy is that much different between the 2 cell phones. That is probably, and by and large, a causation of satellites, what's picking it up. So from my standpoint, if this were something I wanted to share to a TNT project, I remember in my mind that I need everything to be under 500 meters for accuracy. These are both under 500 meters. I'm good to go. But let's say I want to put it as accurately as I can. I can click on this icon right here, and it's going to open up a map. And you have a choice of either a satellite map or a regular map like this. I always prefer this kind of map because I want to see what the heck the ground looks like, as opposed to just gray and green and roads like this. And the cool thing about this, all you have to do is literally touch the screen with your finger and thumb and pinch it in or pinch it out to blow up the view or to narrow it down. You can pinpoint it, put that exact location or as close as you can right in the middle of those bullseyes. You click that check mark up here, you click save here, and that readjusts your accuracy, makes it better, okay? So now we're done with that. Now we come down to the next thing. I know this sounds like a lot of steps. It is, but once you get used to it, it goes very quickly, I think. So now we're going to look at geoprivacy. Geoprivacy means who can see the locational data, the lat and longitude, not the image or the sound, but the actual location. The default setting is open, which means everybody can see the locational information. If you want to change that, let's say you have a ranch or you got a piece of property, and you find something that's pretty unusual, or for whatever reason, you want to share that information because you're trying to learn what the heck the plant is or the animal, but you don't necessarily want to show the exact location to everybody for fear that somebody might come to your property and try to grab it. You can change that setting by clicking on that. You have three choices. Open is the default, and then you have obscured and private. Open means everybody can see the coordinates. Obscured means that the coordinates are shown as a random point in a box that measures 22 kilometers by 22 kilometers. Shows the general area in terms of the box, but it doesn't show the specific location inside that box. Or you can go full on hide by selecting private. And so they won't even see those coordinates, okay? Only those people that you share that with will be able to see those true coordinates. And some people choose to do that, especially on private property. So you have that option of still sharing out the image or the sound to learn what it is while protecting the location data. So we're going to leave it open on this case because it's in a nature center parking lot area. Now we have to decide, is the organism captive or cultivated? The default is no, that it's a wild thing. But iNaturalist also accepts things, plants you've planted in your yard, whatever it happens to be. So if it is something that's captive or cultivated, make sure that you switch that from no to yes, because then it changes the status of that observation. It won't necessarily be used for conservation, but it's still, for you, it's still something valuable. And then finally, there are projects, and you can join projects. I think I have a slide a little bit later that'll show you how to do that. These are all projects that either agencies like TPWD have begun, or City Nature Challenge. You can see that down there. We have other things on Texas Nature Trackers. A nature center might have a project. A university might have a project. A Master Naturalist chapter or an Audubon chapter might have a project. They create them on iNaturalist. And if you join that project, when you choose projects down here, it's going to pull up the list of them. The ones that have these little toggles right here are projects that you have to specifically select to upload that image to. If you don't select the toggle, it won't go into the project. These are called traditional projects. They're there because we can do more data analysis with this kind of project than a standard collection project. So these are traditional projects. And it used to be that's the only ones they had. Collection projects are kind of fun. You can join them if you want to, but you don't have to. But let's say you are in El Paso and somebody has a project on birds, and they've drawn a map around all of El Paso. And you're standing somewhere in El Paso and you take a picture of a bird and you upload it, and you don't even know that project exists. They're in a collection project like that, they're going to grab your observation and pull it into their project. They're not going to ask permission. If it's private coordinates, they either may not take it or they'll take it and they may have to reach out to you and say, hey, can you tell me more about where you saw this? But those kind of projects are referred to as collection projects, and most projects nowadays are just exactly that. So when you're done with all that, and again, I say this, it's taken me 8 minutes to talk about it, but it literally takes about, I don't know, less than a minute to do. Once you get started and get used to it, you click share on the iPhone, you click this check mark up here on the Android, and you will have your observation up. Now, let's say with the City Nature Challenge that you hopefully will participate in a couple of weeks, you're going to go out to Davis Mountains. No, not Davis Mountains. What's the park just north of town? Oh my gosh, I was just there last year. I can't remember. You know the park I'm talking about.
Franklin Mountains.
Yes.
Franklin.
Mountains. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's the first one came to my head. And I went, no, that's farther away. I had to remember where I was again. Franklin Mountain, you're going to go out to the state park out there and take pictures for the project, okay? But you know there's not going to be any kind of a signal, satellite signal, and you don't want to waste battery life by having this thing trying to find a satellite to upload. You can actually go into each phone and turn off a setting called automatic upload. And what that's going to do is save you battery life, and it also allows you to take lots of pictures in a short period of time, save each image, and then process them back where you have a better signal, okay? And the way you do that on the iPhone, what you're going to do is you're going to click on this thing this little wheel right here, and it's going to take you to settings. And down here where it says automatic upload, the toggle is always going to be on. You can switch that toggle off. And again, you don't have to go through that whole process I just showed you for every image when you're doing something in a time basis or you have a really bad signal. And then you can take multiple pictures, save them, upload them later. On the Android, you're going to click on the hamburger up here, this little 3-line thing symbol. It's going to take you, and it's an extra step. It's going to take you down here. You're going to click on settings. Here's your automatic upload right here. Notice it's switched on. I'm going to click on that to turn it off. And then the other thing to remember though, and this is when I was first using this, it was hard to remember. Don't forget to turn it back on when you're back doing normal iNaturalisting, okay? Because otherwise you wonder why it's just saving things and nothing's uploading. All right, now what I want to show you next here is the web page. Keep in mind that the app on your cell phone, the cell phone is a data collection tool, okay? It's going out and documenting things, but the real power of iNaturalist beyond that is on the web page. And we don't have a lot of time to spend on it tonight, but I want to give you just an introduction to it. So this is what my web page looks like when I'm logged in. And there are tabs up here you can click on. There are tabs down here you can click on. Up here, explores means you can go anywhere in the world and find out what they're seeing. Your observations equates to your tab in blue called observations. Community, you can go search for other iNaturalist users. You can search for projects. You can search for places. Identify is something we're going to talk about in a little bit of detail. And then more is where you're going to find the help aspect of the web page. And it's one of the best help pages I've ever seen on a web page. So don't forget that it's underneath more. And also you can look up taxa. You can look up a specific species by clicking on the down arrow on the more as well. Over across the top, if you're going to upload a photograph, that's what you click that for. You can also do it by clicking add observations. And then over here, this would be mail that somebody's communicating with me through iNaturalist. And these are comments on my observations. And then this is just a toggle to be able to backtrack, move back and forth between pages very quickly. So first of all, there's a profile page. So you can go in, you can upload a picture of yourself, put a description of yourself. You can make all kinds of changes in there. It's worthy of going in and taking a look at. Observations are those things that you've actually observed and uploaded. IDs, this is things that you've helped other people to identify. Same link is right. These are yours, and then this is a way to get to others that haven't been identified yet. And then over here is projects. And I want to talk about projects a little bit since we've already mentioned them a little bit. So if I click on projects, first of all, it's going to take me to a page that has my projects on it, okay? But it's going to say search projects on that page as well. And when you hit that, this is your page, it's going to come up. So let's say I want to go ahead and search for a project. I can click on this and I can type something in here, say butterflies, whatever it is. and hit go, and it will list all the projects. I could say butterflies, Texas, and narrow my search. And if there's a project that I'm interested in, I can join that project if I choose to. The neat thing about this is, let's say you're going to take a trip and you're going to come to San Antonio to go bird watching, and you're looking specifically for the golden-cheeked warbler. You can go in here and search, and one way to look for the golden-cheeked warbler is through a project on golden cheeks. You can type in golden-cheeked warbler, see if there's any specific projects on that. That would be one way to do it. Or let's say you're going to the Kerr Wildlife Management Area to go find golden cheeks, because that's a great place to go. Type in Kerr Wildlife Management Area. Is there a project there? It's a way to find out potential places where you can go look for things, okay? You can also start your own project by clicking on this. We won't go into this tonight. This is kind of second level, and I want to get through to the City Nature Challenge. Typically, when we do this workshop, it's either 3 to 4 hours. So we're trying to squeeze a lot into 1 hour. So hopefully your head is not spinning too awful bad. Anyway, different kinds of projects. We've already talked about the traditional projects that we use through the TNT program. These are the ones you have to join. Then you have to upload the image specifically to that project. There are also projects known as umbrella projects. And basically what that is, like the Texas Pollinator BioBlitz, it's a large umbrella of a project that encompasses all kinds of potential smaller projects, and statewide. Every county in the state can participate in a project like this. And so you get broad appeal looking for things like like wildflowers and pollinators in October every year through this particular umbrella project. Another umbrella project is the City Nature Challenge. It's all of that metro area. All of those images are coming in underneath that umbrella. And then all of the projects in Texas fall under a larger umbrella. And then those fall under North America, and those fall under the whole worldwide project as well. So the umbrella gets very large, potentially. By the way, that is a great image on your page. That is, of all the 14 different metro areas, that's the best picture advertising your page. So Kevin, if you put that up there, way to go. That's an awesome photograph.
That's a Benny.
I mean,
you did a great job.
That's an awesome, just such a great picture. Everybody should do that. Okay, so another type of project is a BioBlitz. A BioBlitz is a timed event, usually taken where the idea of a BioBlitz is you're going to go out and document as many things as you can in a specific period of time in a designated area. So imagine going to 30,000 feet and taking a photograph of that area, but instead of trying to identify everything from 30,000 feet, you're on the ground compiling all of that data in that short window of time. And this is an example of a BioBlitz that I found on iNaturalist. I don't know who did this, but it looks pretty good. It had 290 observations, 128 species. But again, different agencies and different organizations and different places use these to document periodic seasonal bits of the natural world in those locations. So you get an overall view of all life at that time, at that date, and that location. So pretty cool way to do that. Another project might be something like this, the Tierra Pollinator Project. Kevin, I think you were heavily involved in this one based on the observations. So this is a site-based collection project. So they picked a spot. I assume this is a kind of a site-based project to document pollinators. Kevin, am I accurate on that?
Yeah, pretty much focused at UTEP.
Yeah, okay, so at UTEP. So they wanted to find out what pollinators were there in a given period of time. And is it still ongoing?
I still put some stuff up there, but it's not really, basically no. Okay. But this is the kind of project that could just be open-ended and go on forever if it wanted to, or the curator could say, we're gonna put it for 5 months and then we're gonna stop it, which would be essentially a little bit like a BioBlitz, but not quite. Another way to do that is do a taxa-specific collection project. And that other one was pollinators. This one is specific to just butterflies. This is a project I started several years ago at Guadalupe River State Park. We do bi-monthly surveys
of butterflies at that park. I have been doing it since 2012 to document species, document change over time, population levels, things like that. But we started this project because even though we're out twice a month with a group of volunteers documenting what we see on those 2 days of the month, there are other people visiting the park taking pictures of things that may see something that we don't get to see. If they're in iNaturalist and take a picture of that, it will pull their observations into our project. And so this is very taxus specific. And then also you can do something as simple as what do you have living around your home? In order to get used to using iNaturalist, if you haven't done a lot, start in your backyard. This is something I started when we bought our house 2 years ago. We're up to 278 species in a 0.22 acre area. We planted a lot of native plants in there. I've documented those, and then a lot of species. And supposedly, if this is correct on this little potter wasp, apparently it's not very common potter wasp. I just got this done yesterday, and somebody was like, "That's a great observation." I looked at the map in iNaturalist, and it's not seen very often. Doesn't mean that it's not common, but I was pretty proud of that little observation right there. So again, you can document things in your own backyard. All right, so now we've been talking about how to use the app on the phone. There is a way, very simple. Let's say you have a nice camera and you're taking pictures and you want to upload those images to iNaturalist. You can do that through the website. Keep in mind too, let's say you have pictures from 10 years ago. You're like, well, I don't know what to do with all these pictures. If they're pictures of plants and animals, upload them. If you have an idea where they were taken, upload them. That kind of historical data can be very valuable for conservation planning. So don't not think that that's not possible. So anyway, if I'm going to take, I've got a camera, I'm taking pictures all the time. I've found some pictures I want to upload. What I'm going to do is go to my web page. I'm going to click upload right here or add observations. It's going to open a screen like this. You have a choice of choosing files, or you can drag and drop some photos. Here I've got this bird right here. I'm going to go ahead and drag it over. This is on my camera, my little disc on my camera that I've plugged into my computer. I'm going to drag it over here and drop it in there. I've actually dropped 2 pictures of the same bird. Now I don't want to make this as 2 different observations. I want to combine this into one observation. So what I'm going to do on step 1, I've got my both pictures. I'm going to go to the next step is going to be to select all right here. And what that's going to do, notice this one on the first one, before I selected that, there's only one of these highlighted. When I hit select all, it highlights both of these. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit combine, and it combines both of those images. Okay, so now I've got both images into my one observation. Now I'm ready to go through the same process I did on the app. I'm going to see what species do I have. I'm going to check my accuracy. I'm going to check my date and time. I'm going to join projects, that sort of thing. Exact same steps, just a different way of doing it. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. So I've got all of this data up here. I've done all my steps just like I did on the app. I've got my image. I've confirmed a species. I've looked at my date and time. I've looked at my accuracy. Now, one thing about accuracy from a camera, from your camera, it's not going to give you an accuracy. So you have to open that up, look to see where the picture, and I'll show you a picture, an image of the photograph, by the way. You can zoom in on the map, hit left click at one time, and it'll give you a circle. You're going to go ahead and use that to create the accuracy you need. My location is public. It's a wild organism. I've joined 2 projects with this observation, and now I'm going to hit submit right there. And it submits it, and I'm ready to go on to my next photograph. And there's much more you can do on the website, but time is short. Now, I want to tell you that iNaturalist is not perfect. This was Tanya's husband took this picture of 3 black vultures. iNaturalist, artificial intelligence took a look and suggested American black bear, American crow, wild boar, American bison, my favorite, and common raven. So what this tells you is that iNaturalist is not perfect in its identifications. And some people that start using iNaturalist want it to identify everything that you take a picture of perfectly. It is simply not possible. Take a damselfly, for example. There are nice field guides to damselflies of Texas. But if you really want to verify the identification on some of them, you need to go down and dissect their reproductive structures at the end of the abdomen. A photograph isn't going to catch that, okay? So just remember that it's not always 100% accurate. And of course, in this case, the black bear disagreed vehemently that this was in fact not, these were not black bears. All right, a few things about photography. On your iPhone, if you have your phone, you can buy something like this called a Zenvo. It's got a 15 power magnifier on it. I've got one of these. It costs about 40 bucks. You can get it through Amazon. It's made of glass. The lens is glass. It sticks to your phone really well, and it takes magnificent up close pictures of small insects. I use it all the time now on small insects. I use it on small wildflowers or details that I want to get to help me with identification. Really, really lovely tool. It comes with a lanyard. You just hang it around your neck, and it's just another tool in your box. Also, again, you can take really good photographs that are high quality to put on iNaturalist with a decent regular camera. This is the one that we get issued for work. It's Coolpix P900. It doesn't cost me an arm and a leg. It didn't cost the state an arm and a leg. And yet it takes good enough high quality pictures of birds from 100 yards away. I can edit those and they work out just great. You don't have to have a $15,000 lens to use a camera. When you're photographing wildflowers, get the best picture of the flower you can. If you need to, edit the flower so it's as close as possible and still in focus. Take a picture of the sides of the flower. Sometimes that helps with identification tips. Also, my hand being in here, because I didn't have a ruler, this is now my measuring stick. So if I need to measure any part of this stem or these sepals or the length of the petal, I can use my hand as a reference point for measuring. Then make sure you get a picture of the leaves and the stem and a picture of the entire plant if that's possible with wildflowers. That all aids in identification. When it comes to woody plants, you'll want to get a good picture of the leaves, whether they're simple leaves like this, whether they're a compound leaf like this Virginia creeper. A lot of times if I have things on the bottom or I need to know something about the veins of a leaf, I'll take the underside of the leaf because the veins stick out better. And a lot of times there's a lot of fuzziness or pubescence down there. The other thing is, how are the leaves arranged on the stem? Are they alternate one another or opposite one another? Those are all clues to help either the artificial intelligence, you, or other iNaturalist users help you identify what that plant is. And you can take a picture of the bark. If there's tendrils, if it's a vine with tendrils, if it's a plant that has thorns or prickles, it has fruit or it has flowers, get that stuff documented. It all aids in identification. In terms of invertebrates, patience is everything. They fly, they've got great big compound eyes. When it's hot out, they fly even better. They're not very patient with you. But one of the things, a couple of tips that I've learned over the years is dragonflies and damselflies, and there's an amazing variety of them. They are often territorial. They have favorite perches. And if you can figure out where their favorite perches is, sometimes you can get close enough and be patient and just wait, and they'll come back to that perch. You can get your photograph that you need. With butterflies, and even with damselflies in particular, a lot of them look alike. So keep taking pictures of them. Get the best picture you can, and you'll be surprised how many different species are actually showing up around you. And then, of course, if you can get the inside of the wings and the outside of the wings of a butterfly, that's awesome. And then also, just don't forget about this group of insects, moths. There are way more moths than there are butterflies. And these are tiny. These are all about 4 millimeters long, 4 to 5 millimeters long. And they're spectacular. And they were taken on a wall out underneath a light outside of a house. So again, there's all kinds of things out there that you can document for nature. And by the way, I should say, they're still finding new species of moths, even here in Texas. And then other invertebrates, when you take a picture of a spider, make sure you get the dorsal surface, the back of it. And then like something like a bumblebee that has stripes and different patterns, you can get a picture from the top and from the side, that's valuable as well. When it comes to things like this is a bird that I took a picture of using a macro lens from about 70 yards away. So that picture, if I had posted it on iNaturalist like this, it probably would have tried to identify the tree. So I Did some editing, not perfect picture, but when I posted that on iNaturalist, it identified it as a Say's Phoebe. Sometimes you'll take a picture of birds or other wildlife where there's more than one species in the picture to make it simpler for iNaturalist and for you to increase the number of observations. Do some editing and separate the snow goose from the Ross's goose. You get 2 observations of 2 different species. Remember, when it comes to birds, that bird nests do count. A lot of bird eggs look similar, but if you can give it a shot and see if they can identify it. This happened to be a lark sparrow. This happened to be a blue grosbeak. And then don't forget that tracks count, as does roadkill. On my way out to Big Bend a week ago, we got up in Sanderson, started driving, found a brand new dually pickup truck, smashed the whole front end smashed, sadly. Looked across the road and there was a dead elk. This person had hit an elk and killed it on the side of the road. I promptly got out when it was safe, took a picture of the elk, put it on iNaturalist to document that roadkill. So that is doable, but be safe when you're out there doing that. So you can also ID things. Again, research grade is what we in Texas Nature Trackers are looking for. It's a verifiable observation. It has a date, it's georeferenced, it has a documented sound or photo. It is wild, and 2/3 of the identifiers agree on the taxon, okay? That's really, really valuable and very important. When you look at your observations, if your observations got to research grade, that means that enough people agreed that that was fringed puccoon, that's now scientifically usable. Over here, this says casual and casual. These were taken as domesticated plants, as planted plants, as opposed to wild. They're never going to become research grade, but I still take them because I want to know what in the world they are. And then over here, every once in a while, you get something that nobody identifies, and it can be very, very frustrating. And that is just the way it is. Sometimes when it comes to yellow flax, there's multiple species and they all look alike. And I took a guess and in the hopes that somebody would challenge it, and they didn't. And so today it still sits there like that. So I have more work to do. And again, that helps when you take multiple pictures of that plant. And you'll notice that I did, and it still didn't help. So it doesn't always help. The other thing is to help with ID. Let's say it's bad weather, or you're under the weather, or Saturday Night Live is a rerun and you can't sleep. You can get out your field guides. If you have expertise in flowers or butterflies or birds, whatever it is, you can pull out the old field guides and help other people get their observations to research grade. Really valuable, and also a very important part of the City Nature Challenge. When you go to identify, you get this. You can search by species or taxa group. You can search by state or country or wherever, continent, I guess. Here I selected Texas observations. These are all things that people have not been able to identify. Now, honestly, I wouldn't be able to go through there and identify everything that's there, okay? But some of them I could help with. But let's say I have an expertise in butterflies in Texas. I can go here and help others identify what they don't know. So for example, there's a couple of ways of doing this. Right here, I've got this observation of a monarch caterpillar. I know it's a monarch caterpillar. They didn't for sure, but this was their placeholder guess. But it's not research grade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. I'm going to click agree. I agree. That's a monarch caterpillar. I've done that. Now it takes it and it says it's reviewed. I don't have to look at that again. And here's what's really cool. It moved that to research grade. To show you that that works, here's another observation right here. I know, I'm pretty sure that's a gray hair streak, but I want to look at the picture because I just want to make sure because there are other butterflies that look similar. So I go ahead and click on that image with just a left click on that image. And here's my big image. Now I'm looking at it and go, yep, that in fact is a gray hair streak. Cody Stricker was correct. You'll notice I look at the range map and go, yep, they're found around here. So, you know, that helps verify. And now what I'm going to do is instead of doing that on the other page, I'm going to click agree over here. Notice this says needs ID. Now watch what happens when I click on this. The next screen is going to show that I helped suggest an ID. And now it's flipped over to research grade. That now becomes a usable record for scientific investigation. So this is a very valuable extra tool. And so when iNaturalist or when City Nature Challenge is over, on the 3rd of May. There are 6 days after that that people invite you to go out and identify those things. So you could go to El Paso's project, find things that haven't been identified. If you know what they are, identify them. It helps move them to research grade. It helps count for more species or observations in your project and get you closer to Dallas and Houston in terms of final numbers. I know, Kevin, I saw you smile. San Antonio's in the same place. We're never going to catch them, I don't think, but we're going to try since it is a competition anyway, friendly. So why help with IDs? There are lots of people interested in nature. They need encouragement and help. People help you identify things. That's just a nice turnabout is fair play. So you can help them. It gives you another way to contribute to conservation efforts, and it helps you sharpen your naturalist skills and dust off all those field guides that we buy over the years. And the other question is, why not? I say, well, let's do it. So finally, why does this all matter? And I noticed it's 8:04, so I'll get wrapped up here pretty quickly, Kevin. So why does it matter? People all over the world are using it. U.S. Fish and Wildlife is using it. Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife have iNaturalist projects. Colorado, California, Florida, all over the United States, agencies are using iNaturalist. In Texas, we're using these projects. Like Herps of Texas has already put over 5,000 records into the Texas Natural Diversity Database. These are records, most of which would never have been accumulated without iNaturalist and without citizen scientists, community scientists helping us gather that information. Here's a project. Is now a lot of research projects now are using iNaturalist to reach out to the public while they're doing their camera traps and track plates and live traps. And what you often find out is they get very few detections sometimes, depending on the species. Using the public to help them, all of a sudden they get more records that are very valuable to a better understanding of that species. This is the best one I've encountered lately. I was watching commission meeting, TBWD commission meeting a week and a half ago. Tanya was giving an excellent presentation on iNaturalist and City Nature Challenge. And a biologist in the wildlife division pulls up this map and says, we're trying to look for extra hunting opportunities in closed counties for gray and fox squirrels. These are iNaturalist maps of the records. They actually used these to find out where they're being seen by the general public, and could there be enough records there that might help them. And then of course we had the giant winter storm project, Uri. As a result of that, we started an immediate project to document things that died during that project. And we just gave a week ago a 3-hour webinar, all the different divisions of the wildlife and fisheries divisions reported on what happened to the animals during that. And well over 1,000 people got to see that presentation. So City Nature Challenge, what does it do for us? First of all, during COVID, we actually increased the number of observers relative to the previous year when it wasn't COVID, which means that people got outside their house and actually found nature. Also, City Nature Challenge tends to get people to go from being a casual user to a more involved user, all the way to some of them, those people end up teaching iNaturalist workshops themselves. As a result of last year's City Nature Challenge, we received over 1,700 research grade observations of more than 100 species of SGCNs. We got more than half of the observations got to research grade, which means a lot of people were helping with identifying. And that is very important if we want to get those things into the natural diversity database. And iNaturalist also magnifies the work of TBWD biologists. Just in the Houston area, 84 community scientists for every 1 TPWD biologist. That's a lot of potential data accumulation that wouldn't be done otherwise. That to me is that slide tells you all you need to know about the importance of iNaturalist and how you can be one of those bodies right there helping us. And it also leads to things where you actually have cities and other municipalities finding out, hey, this data is actually valuable for habitat management or restoration projects or land acquisition. They don't even know what's going on sometimes. And so you can really make some powerful contributions to conservation. Speaking of that property you're trying to save, having an iNaturalist project there and documenting what's out there would be a great extra tool to make your case to go ahead and say, this is why we need to preserve this. Okay, if you've got that laundry list of plants and animals. So City Nature Challenge, April 3rd to May 3rd, coming up in less than a week and a half. That's the 4 days you can get out and observe. Identifying time is the next 6 days after that. There's your page. I already showed you that previously. These are all the metropolitan areas in Texas that are participating this year. We doubled the number from last year. So we've got lots and lots of people across the state of Texas that are going to participate this year. And here you are out here waving the flag for West Texas. Well done, well done. And here are some links that you can take a screenshot of, and or you can just type in City Nature Challenge and it'll give you lots more information. A couple of things to keep in mind about City Nature or iNaturalist. It measures species richness. It measures what's there at that time. It does not measure all entire population numbers or its health. It doesn't measure absence. You can't take a picture of nothing. And at the bottom, remember, it's a data collection tool. It's something to document what is there at that time. So in conclusion, get out, begin documenting for conservation. Participate in the City Nature Challenge, have fun. This is fun. This is not hard. This is not hard to do. Once you get started, it becomes a little bit addictive. Okay, and you don't want to be taking pictures of this, that, and the other thing. And what is wrong with that? I can think of so many other things that would be much worse to learn than learning about nature. So I would encourage all of you to get out and document, have some fun out in the outdoors. Here's my contact information, Tanya's contact information. Those are our iNaturalist names that we put out there. You're certainly look us up and follow us. And with that, I know I'm just a little bit late. Sorry about that. But if there are, I don't know if there are any questions we want to, do we have any, can we take a few minutes for questions, or how do you want to do that?
Sure. We can take a few
Okay.
minutes. If anyone wants to unmute and ask a question, you're welcome to do that. Go for it.
So
All right.
if a native plant shows up in my yard and I water it, but I didn't plant it, can I call it cultivated or natural?
If it shows up and you didn't plant it, that's natural. That's wild. And here's something else, Judy. I've got all these plants I've put in my yard. I put in like 8 or 10 pink evening primroses. I now have 200. So I'm not sure if I should call the other ones wild or so it gets to be a little gray once in a while on those kind of things. But yeah, if something shows up and you didn't put it there in the ground, it's wild as far as I'm concerned, as far as what iNaturalist is concerned. Good question. That's a beautiful picture behind you, by the way. What a lovely looking area.
Last year we had poppies, but this year none.
Yeah, it's pretty dry. It's pretty dry, I imagine. That is gorgeous. Daggone. Let's see. Okay, so I got that question answered. Let's see here. What else do we have?
There was a question about being able to create projects. I believe
Yes.
there's a certain number of observations before you're allowed.
Yes.
To clarify.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's 50 verifiable observations. So 50 research grade observations before you can create a place, which you need in order to create a project. So yeah, you've got to have that 50 first. And that was done so that hackers couldn't easily get in and start messing with things. That's the argument I've heard. So, but again, it doesn't take very long to get to 50.
Just a fun morning, really.
It really is just a fun morning. It's exactly right. It's exactly right. Let's see here. Let's see something very, very cool. A student at MSN. Oh, that's something you're responding to. Okay, cool. So Kevin, do you use it quite a bit with what you do out there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use it a lot. Mostly now for bees and insects because that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Typically. I do use it for birds also. I'll drop bird pictures in, but I mostly use eBird still for birds. And so I don't always put stuff on iNaturalist because I don't always have good pictures of birds. But,
right. Well, and eBird is the biggest use used, I think it's the greatest used app there is on the earth at this point, and it's gathering so much easily used data. Yeah, yeah. The bird part of iNaturalist is kind of obsolete with eBird being around. But we still use it and we still get a lot of good data off of it. So
Yeah.
We certainly aren't going to get rid of the project.
Right. Any other questions? Jamie, did you have a question? Nope, just showed up to say hi.
Hi, Jamie. All right. Well, I hope this was useful for y'all. And I sure hope that you all get out there and do your part for El Paso and mostly just enjoy. And maybe if you're lucky, you'll get rain in the next week and shoot some things out of the ground. So otherwise, it sounds like it'll be a challenge to find wildflowers and things like that this year. So
yeah. At least migration.
We're awful.
Up, so
is it starting to? Okay. Yeah, we're right in the middle of migration right now with warblers and the wildflowers initially are good, but we're very dry. We're like 12 inches below what we should be in the last year.
Wow.
But dry here is different than dry out there, I suspect.
Yeah. And I will mention for those of you still on, I did put the link to the project, or sorry, the project on iNaturalist, but also the web page that the group of us put together to try to create a single location for information. And you can check for, well, share it widely for one, but you can also check to see about any in-person events. A few groups, I know Mariflora, who I think just had to jump off, is doing a couple with Frontera. I'm not sure how much else because of the COVID restrictions still, but we try to get all the pertinent information on that webpage. So share widely and let us know if you have any questions.
I threw my email up there. If anybody has a specific question or an issue they're having with it, feel free to email me and I'll help you out. We get those kind of emails once in a while. So we're happy to help however we can.
So far in the 3 years, I think, that I've been involved in the El Paso City Nature Challenge, we've gone up every year. So
Good.
You know, we got to keep doing that. At some point it'll be challenging, but I think we have a lot of room for growth. So.
Kevin?
Yeah,
Kevin
Dora?
and Craig, I do have a question. Is there any
Sure.
city maps or city data that show public open spaces where we can go in and get started on projects once this starts?
Well, there probably are. I wish I could tell you that I know more about El Paso than I do. I've been there a few times, but not enough to really know where to search for that. Kevin, any thoughts since you live out there and work out there? And
there's some suggestions on the website that Insights is hosting, the one that I put the link to, on locations to go to. We covered sort of the main ones we could think of. But the other nice thing is really a lot of this stuff you can do locally in your neighborhood. So any, city park works pretty well for insects and animals. Most of the plants will probably be cultivated, which is okay. You just it's just better if you flag them that way. But just depends on what side of the town you're on. The state park's open. The Franklin Mountain State Park is open. Waco Tanks is open, although it's always potentially a little trickier to get in there. Rio Bosque in the lower valley, or kind of lower valley, is a great location. There's Lost Dog on the west side, and the Wrestler Canyon and Keystone, and yeah. So there's
lots of places.
Yeah, we tried to put most of them on that website map. I'm trying to see. Yeah, so you can go down to where can I participate on the Insights page and click on that, and it'll show you at least some of the better spots that we thought of.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Dora, just keep in mind, just just like he said, in your neighborhood, you'd be surprised sometimes what you can find. And I think that's one of the things the City Nature Challenge does. It raises people's awareness at how much nature is actually right around them, that we often, in our hurry to get to the work or get to the grocery store or whatever, we often ignore. So this is an opportunity to slow down and just have some fun.
Napland, Judy suggested, which is good. Then Alfred asked about Audubon outings. There's nothing that I'm aware of scheduled, but our field trip coordinator is trying to do stuff. But we're still, again, a little bit limited based on COVID restrictions. The other thing you can check out is the Rio Bosque website, because John Sproul does monthly bird tours out there. I think he's keeping the capacity to 10 people with face coverings, but it's a great place, great time to be out there.
Yeah, we birded that when we were out there. We saw all kinds of good stuff out there.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, painted bunting should be showing up there pretty soon, so that's always exciting.
Yep. I just had my first indigos 2 days ago. I still haven't seen a painted yet, but the indigos are in, so the painted can't be too far behind. So
Nice.
well, look at it.
All right. Well, then we could just geek out talking about birds for the next hour or so. We should probably.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
probably
exactly.
stop
We'll
and
let you go.
have
Exactly.
All right.
Well, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to visit with you tonight. Good luck with the City Nature Challenge in El Paso, and I'll be looking forward to seeing how the results are and how you all do out there. So, and again, go after Houston, man. I know it's a lot of effort, but
Can we combine?
There's the top of the hill.
Can it be like all Texas cities against Houston? Is that possible?
I think it should be. Well, we won't include Dallas because they can stand on their own. So
Yeah.
everybody outside of that, but with all the new cities, it's going to be real interesting to see how the new cities do.
Yeah.
Abilene and those places like that. So it should be really cool to see how it goes this year. So,
Great.
Well, thank you all, everybody. Y'all take good care. Have a great weekend. Here's hoping for rain sooner than later. And we will see you all. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks,
to be
Greg.
able to visit with y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Take
everybody.
good care.
Chat to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.